I know there are people out there who are scared to death of sketch constraints, who don't get along well with constraints, who struggle with constraints. So starting right now, we are going to address all of those problems. We're going to take away your fear of constraints, give you what you need to know to be successful, to draw good sketches, to make good parts, to be in control of your work in Autodesk Inventor. Let's throw a couple of lines up here. We're just going to work our way through all of these constraints up here in this video to give you an introduction to what they are and what they do. And then there will be more videos after this that will go into a lot greater detail and show you different ways to use these, spend a little more time on each one. We'll take a quick look at them now, and then we'll have those longer videos available as a reference for you to go deeper. Let's take a look at the first one, though, the coincident constraint. Look at what it says. Constraint points to other geometries in 2D and 3D sketches. That just means I can click on the coincident constraint, click on a point, in this case the endpoint of a line, and I can stick it to other geometry. I can stick it to this line, make it be anywhere along this line that I want, so that no matter what, it stays on that line. I can apply a coincident constraint to the endpoint, make it stay down there, or I could apply a coincident constraint from that endpoint to the midpoint, so that no matter what, it sticks in the midpoint of that line. Second one on the list is the collinear constraint. Let's draw two lines. Draw one horizontal line, and I'll draw another one at an angle to it somewhere. When I click on the coincident constraint, it just takes one line and another line and lines them up with each other. They might be on top of each other. See, the other one kind of disappeared under that, but it makes them lined up with each other all the time, no matter what. Next is the concentric constraint. It just takes two arcs or circles and causes them to have the same center point. What does that look like? That just means I've got one circle here, one circle here. When I click the concentric constraint, click on one circle, then the other circle, and that means that they are going to stay inside each other. It works on arcs as well. I can have an arc and a circle, concentric constraint. Now they are matched up again on the same center point. Next on the list is the fixed constraint. A fixed constraint just locks something in place. It is a little lock symbol. Now let's look at what it does to a line. If I fix a line, see, I get the lock symbol up there. It locks the position of the line, though the endpoints can move. If I lock, then the endpoint locks the other endpoint, and now this line is completely stuck. Let me just warn you here, I would use a fixed constraint as a last resort. It doesn't really give you the control over a sketch that we really want. It can fix things in place temporarily. I think that's the best use for it. If you've got a lot going on in a constraint and things are moving around on you, you can fix something in place. Like this circle here, it is fixed, nothing can move. It can give you the opportunity to work around it, but it is good sometimes to use briefly, and then you can come back and remove those constraints after the fact. Let's move on, clear all this from the screen. And let's look at the parallel constraint. Parallel lines. See, these lines can cross each other. Parallel lines cannot cross. They are a constant distance apart. Apply a parallel constraint to create parallel lines. While we've got those up there, let's add another line and use perpendicular on this one. Perpendicular just means two things are at a 90-degree angle or a right angle to each other. So now, no matter what else I move around, these two lines will be perpendicular to each other. Let's take the next one, horizontal constraint. Zoom back in on these a little bit. Apply a horizontal constraint to one of these lines. That made the line horizontal. It made the line that was parallel to it be horizontal as well, and it made that line that was perpendicular. Now we can see it runs vertical. It doesn't have its own vertical constraint, but the other things it was constrained to made it be vertical. If I just start with another line out here in space, vertical constraint, now that one goes vertical as well. Let's jump down now to the next line and take a look at the tangent constraint. We'll use that last line that we created and throw a circle out here. See how this line crosses this circle at 2 points here, doesn't cross it here. A tangent constraint will put us with this line touching this circle at exactly 1 point. This line is not tangent. This line is tangent. If I keep moving across, let's draw another line out here and create an arc. See at the transition of this line to this arc, you can see a visible break point here. But if I add a tangent constraint, that smooths out that transition. One more thing I can do is make two circles or two arcs be tangent to each other. They can touch on the outside like that, or they can touch on the inside like that, touching at only 1 point. As we move across the list here, the smooth G2 constraint. It is a continuous curvature constraint. We will look at this one quickly, but not spend a whole lot of time on it. There will be more detail given when we get to the video just that focuses on that G2. I'm going to lock this line in place. I'm going to lock this endpoint with a fixed constraint so that I can add some different geometry to it. Let's first go here and put an arc on it, make that arc tangent, and we see again that transition from straight line tangent into an arc. But now I want to draw a spline. Click on the endpoint of this line, and then I'm going to come up and down to add some curves up and down with this spline. We see we're kind of where we started before, that we have a visible breakpoint between the horizontal line and the beginning of this spline. If I use tangent on these two, it does smooth out that transition. But if I apply a smooth transition, a G2 continuous curvature constraint, notice what it does. It takes the transition here, and where I previously had, going from a straight line directly into this arc, now I'm almost straight right here between that line and that spline. Where they meet, let's delete this one. Where they meet, it almost looks like a straight line right there, and I go out farther and have a more gradual transition into that spline. Again, we'll talk about a little more of what the G2 and the continuous curvature means in the video on that particular constraint. Let's clean all this up one more time and look at the last two things here. We can kind of put them together. I'm going to add my center point back. Notice my center point went away. I deleted that. Project geometry. Go over here to the origin folder. Get center point, and my center point is back. I'm going to use it to draw a vertical line. Come down here, back to the origin again. Create one line off to the left. Create another line off to the right. Notice I can move these two lines independently of each other. But if I apply a symmetric constraint, click one line, click the other line, back to my center line. Now as I move one, the other one moves with it. I can use this on circles as well. Currently, I can move one, move the other. They are independent. But if I apply a symmetric constraint to circle, circle, symmetry line, now they move together. Notice they are also the same size. Let's get rid of those. and go back to these two lines. As we pointed out, they move opposite each other. The angle changes, all constantly updates, but they are not the same length. I can make them be the same length with this last constraint to look at, and that is the equal constraint. Equal here and here, and now no matter what, those two are symmetric to each other thanks to the symmetric constraint, and they are the same length. If I come over here and apply dimensions to one side, let's make that 30 degrees, put a length on this one, make it align to there, 2 inches long. Now no matter what I do to this side, it automatically updates the other side. I can use that equal as well between two circles, one larger one, one smaller one, equal constraint between the two, and now they are the same size. If I put a dimension on this one, the other one automatically updates with it. We will dig into that principle as we go into more of these videos. Using constraints wisely, putting two circles, two arcs, two lines equal to each other, then gives us the power to make things update automatically, to save dimensions, use fewer dimensions, more constraints. But we'll dig into that as we go. If you are ready to dive into the more specific details of this, I'll begin the next video looking at the coincident constraint and some more things that we can do with it. Here is the link to that video. But as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.